First contact under fire. The stars glistened serenely against the backdrop of space as the Confederation diplomatic vessel Celestial Harmony drifted along the borders of the radiant cluster. For over 3 centuries, 15 advanced species had coexisted within the Galactic Confederation, sharing knowledge and resources across thousands of worlds. On the command deck of the Celestial Harmony, Ambassador Thelis observed the holographic display with his 4 crystalline eyes. The tall, slender diplomat's iridescent skin reflected the soft blue light of the ship's interior as he prepared for the upcoming diplomatic summit. "Ambassador, we're receiving unusual energy readings from the nearby asteroid field," reported Navigation Officer Vereen, her tentacled appendages moving gracefully across the sensor panel. Though smaller than most Confederation species, the Quillari were renowned for their exceptional skills in astrogation and sensory perception. Thelis tilted his head. "A mining operation, perhaps. The Vosians have been known to establish outposts in this region." "No, sir. The signature doesn't match any Confederation technology." "It's..." Vereen's voice caught as the reading spiked. "Multiple ships emerging. Their configuration is unknown." Before Thelis could respond, the view screen illuminated with a blinding flash. The Celestial Harmony shuddered violently as something struck its port side. "We're under attack," Security Chief Morden shouted, his thick carapace rattling with tension. "Shields failing at 60% capacity." Thelis steadied himself against his console. "Open all communication channels. This is Ambassador Thelis of the Galactic Confederation. We are a diplomatic vessel on a peaceful mission. Please cease hostilities immediately." Another blast rocked the ship, throwing crew members from their stations. Emergency lights flashed as smoke filled the command deck. "No response to our hails," Communications Specialist Zira reported, her feathered crest flattening against her skull in distress. The last functioning escape pods launched from the dying Celestial Harmony, scattering in different directions to maximize survival chances. From his pod, Thelis watched his ship break apart in a series of explosions, followed by the diplomatic station's destruction. His pod systems began failing one by one as damage from debris took its toll. Life support was critically damaged, giving him perhaps a day at most. The communication system sputtered weakly as he recorded what might be his final message. "This is Ambassador Thelis. Confederation diplomatic mission destroyed. Attackers self-identify as harvesters. Heavily armed with energy weapons and boarding capabilities, they struck without warning or negotiation, establishing forward positions in the radiant cluster. Confederation worlds are in danger." The transmission system died, leaving Thelis alone in the failing pod. Through the small viewport, he watched the harvester ships methodically destroying the remaining debris, ensuring no survivors. His people weren't prepared for this. The Confederation had embraced peace and cooperation for so long that the concept of such violence was almost incomprehensible. As his pod's emergency lights dimmed to conserve the last reserves of power, Thelis wondered if anyone had heard his desperate call. The chances seemed impossibly slim. The nearest Confederation outpost was days away at maximum speed, and they had no significant military vessels to send regardless. He closed his eyes as his pod drifted silently through the graveyard of what had once been a place of peace and diplomacy. Far away, beyond the borders of Confederation space, the Earth battleship Thunderchild moved through the darkness between stars. The massive vessel stretched nearly a mile long, its armored hull bearing the scars of previous engagements. Unlike the elegant artistic designs of Confederation vessels, the Thunderchild was built with one purpose in mind. It was a warship, pure and simple, a testament to humanity's history of conflict and their determination to survive in a dangerous universe. On the command bridge, Captain Alina Reyes reviewed the patrol data with her executive officer. At 42, Reyes had spent most of her adult life in space, rising through the ranks of Earth's defense fleet through a combination of tactical brilliance and unwavering resolve. "Captain," called Lieutenant Chen from the communication station, "we're picking up something unusual on the long-range scanners." some kind of distress signal on a frequency we've never encountered before. Rise approached the station, her expression curious. Source: it's coming from the direction of Confederation space, ma'am. Deep in their territory. That was unexpected. In the brief diplomatic exchanges between Earth and the Confederation, the advanced alien coalition had always maintained a polite but clear distance. They view humanity as newcomers to interstellar travel, too volatile and unpredictable to fully embrace. Humans were permitted limited trade and scientific exchanges, but military vessels like the Thunderchild were explicitly prohibited from entering Confederation territory. "Play it," Rise ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a desperate voice emerged through the interference. "Ambassador Thelis. Confederation diplomatic mission destroyed. Attackers self-identify as harvesters, heavily armed, struck without warning. Establishing forward positions. Confederation worlds are in danger." "Signal analysis," Rise asked, her brow furrowing. "Definitely Confederation technology, Captain, but heavily modified. They're broadcasting on frequencies they don't normally use, probably trying to bypass some kind of jamming. The message is badly degraded. This was sent at least 12 hours ago." Rise walked to the tactical display, studying the map of nearby space. The Confederation border was 3 days away at standard speed, and Earth's diplomatic protocols were explicit. Military vessels were to maintain a respectful distance, unless specifically invited. "Intelligence Officer Patel to the bridge," she called into the ship's communication system. Minutes later, Commander Raj Patel arrived. Tall and lean, with sharp eyes that missed nothing, he was one of the fleet's most knowledgeable experts on alien civilizations. "We've received a distress call from Confederation space," Rise explained, playing the message again. Patil listened carefully. "Harvesters. Nothing in our databases, Captain. They must be a new player or from unexplored space." "What do we know about Confederation defenses?" Rise asked. "Very little," Patil admitted. "They've maintained peace for so long that military development has been minimal. Their ships are primarily scientific and diplomatic in nature, beautiful, but not designed for combat." Rise paced the bridge, weighing her options. Earth Command would want her to ignore this, to stay within human space and follow established protocols. The Confederation had made it clear they viewed humanity as junior partners at best, potential troublemakers at worst. They had never asked for help, especially not military assistance. But a distress call was a distress call. "Navigation. Plot a course to the source of that transmission," she ordered. "Maximum speed." Her executive officer, Commander Jackson, approached with concern evident on his face. "Captain, that's well beyond our patrol zone. Earth Command hasn't authorized." "I'm authorizing it," Rise interrupted firmly. "Someone needs help, and we're the closest ship that can provide it. We can debate the diplomatic fallout later." As the Thunderchild changed course, Rise called a briefing with her senior officers in the tactical room. Maps of Confederation space glowed on the displays as they gathered around the conference table. "The Confederation has always kept us at arm's length," Rise began. "They see us as newcomers, possibly dangerous. They don't know what we can do." Dr. Lydia Santos, the ship's chief medical officer, nodded in agreement. "I've treated Confederation visitors during exchange programs. They're always surprised by our medical techniques, especially our regenerative therapies. I don't think they realize how quickly humans adapt and develop." "They've never seen our military capabilities," added Major Kyle Takeda, commander of the ship's marine contingent. "They know we have ships, but not what they can do." Intelligence Officer Patel displayed images of previous Confederation contacts. Their vessels are marvels of engineering and aesthetics, but built primarily for research and diplomacy. Their weapon systems are defensive at best, designed to deflect asteroids or deal with pirates, not wage war. Rise looked at each of her officers in turn. "We're going in to help, but carefully. We'll use stealth approach until we know exactly what we're facing. If these harvesters attacked without warning, they won't hesitate to fire on us too. The massive engines of the Thunderchild propelled the battleship forward at speeds that would have astounded Confederation scientists. Inside, the crew prepared for possible combat. Fighter pilots checked their craft, Marines prepared their equipment, and engineers ran final diagnostics on the ship's advanced weapon systems. In her quarters, Rise looked at a small holographic image of Earth, wondering if she was making the right decision. Crossing into Confederation space with a warship could be seen as an act of aggression, regardless of their intentions. Earth Command might call it reckless, even insubordinate. But as she set the hologram aside, she knew she couldn't ignore a cry for help, no matter who sent it. That wasn't what humanity stood for. That wasn't what she stood for. The Thunderchild accelerated through the darkness, its powerful engines leaving a faint blue trail that quickly faded in the vastness of space. They were heading toward danger, and toward someone who needed them. The tide turns. 3 days later, the Thunderchild entered the outer edges of the Radiant Cluster with all stealth systems engaged. No external lights betrayed its presence as it drifted silently through the debris field that had once been a Confederation diplomatic outpost. On the bridge, Captain Rice studied the tactical displays with grim determination. "Status report," she ordered quietly. "Extensive debris field consistent with the destruction of multiple vessels and a space station," reported Lieutenant Khan from the sensor station. "Energy signatures indicate weapons fire approximately 72 hours ago. I'm also detecting activity on the nearby moon. And wait." She adjusted her instruments. "Captain, I'm picking up 8 large vessels surrounding the moon. Configuration unknown, heavily armed. The harvesters," Rise murmured. "Any Confederation ships in the area?" "None detected, Captain. But I am picking up a faint life sign in a damaged escape pod near the outer edge of the debris field. Critical life support failure imminent." Reyes's decision was immediate. "Stealth recovery. Bring them in, full medical team standing by." As the Thunderchild maneuvered silently through the debris, its recovery team carefully retrieved the damaged escape pod. Inside the ship's medical bay, Dr. Santos and her team waited as the pod seal was cut open. Inside, they found Ambassador Thelis barely conscious, his iridescent skin dulled from oxygen deprivation. "He's alive, but just barely," Santos reported as they transferred him to a medical bed. "His physiology is different from ours, but I think we can stabilize him." 6 hours later, Thelis opened his eyes in the Thunderchild's medical bay. He blinked in confusion at the unfamiliar surroundings and the strange beings around him. Dr. Santos approached slowly, hands open to show she meant no harm. "You're safe now," she said gently. "We received your distress call. I'm Dr. Santos of the Earth battleship Thunderchild." Thelis's eyes widened in recognition. "Earth. Humans." His voice was weak but clear. "You came all this way because of my message." "Of course we did," Santos replied, helping him sit up. "Captain Rice would like to speak with you when you're ready." Thelis looked around the medical bay with growing amazement. The technology he saw was far more advanced than he had expected from humans. The Confederation reports had clearly underestimated them. When Captain Rice arrived, Thelis was even more surprised. The Confederation viewed humans as a curious but underdeveloped species, just beginning to explore beyond their solar system. But this human commanded a vessel larger and more powerful than anything the Confederation had constructed. "I'm glad we found you in time," Ambassador Rice said, standing at his bedside. "Can you tell us what happened?" Thelis explained the unprovoked harvester attack, his voice growing stronger as he spoke. He described how the peaceful diplomatic mission had been destroyed without warning or negotiation. "From what I overheard before my escape, the harvesters consider the Confederation ripe for conquest. They said this sector was just the beginning, a test of our defenses." Reyes nodded gravely. "We've been monitoring their activities. They've constructed weapon platforms on the moon and what appears to be a staging area for a larger invasion force." Thelis looked at her in alarm. "The nearest Confederation defense fleet is 3 systems away. They wouldn't arrive in time to prevent a full-scale attack. "We're here now," Rais said simply. Thalos hesitated. "This isn't your fight, Captain. The Confederation hasn't even formally recognized Earth as a major power." Rais smiled slightly. "We don't fight for recognition, Ambassador. We fight to protect those who need protection." Before Thalos could respond, an alert sounded throughout the ship. "Captain, to the bridge," came Commander Jackson's voice over the communication system. "Harvester ships are moving in our direction. They've detected us. Looks like we don't have the luxury of remaining hidden," Rais said calmly. She turned to Thalos. "Would you care to join me on the bridge, Ambassador? You might find it educational." On the bridge, the crew moved with practiced efficiency as the harvester vessels approached. Tactical displays showed 8 ships in formation, 7 smaller craft surrounding one massive command vessel. "Battle stations," Rais ordered. "Shields at maximum. Bring weapon systems online but hold fire until my command." Thalos watched in amazement as the humans prepared for combat. The Confederation would be frantically trying to escape by now, not preparing to stand their ground. "Can you tell us anything about their weapon systems?" Rais asked him. Thalos moved to a nearby console. "Their ships use a form of plasma beam technology. 1 hit disabled our shields. 2 destroyed the celestial harmony completely." Chief Engineer Rodriguez approached, studying the sensor readings. "Captain, I've analyzed the debris from the Confederation ships. Their shield technology operates on a fixed frequency pattern. The harvester weapons are specifically calibrated to disrupt that pattern." "Will they be effective against our shields?" Rais asked. Rodriguez grinned confidently. "Not nearly as much. Our adaptive shielding shifts frequencies continuously. They might damage us, but not as easily as they did the Confederation ships." Commander Jackson pulled up the tactical display. "Harvester vessels approaching, Captain. 7 attack ships with the command vessel hanging back." Rais nodded thoughtfully. "Send tactical data to Wing Commander Ortiz. I want fighter squadrons ready but hidden behind our hull until my signal." Thalos looked confused. "Fighter squadrons? I thought this was a single battleship." "The Thunderchild is a carrier too," Rais explained. "We have 36 Starhawk fighters on board." 36. Thalos whispered in shock. "The entire Confederation defense fleet only has 20 fighters total." On the flight deck below, Wing Commander Ortiz briefed her pilots. "These harvester ships are an unknown threat. They've destroyed Confederation vessels, but they haven't faced humans before. Stay in pairs, watch each other's backs, and remember your training." The pilots nodded, moving to their fighters, each craft small but deadly, packed with advanced weapons and countermeasures. Back on the bridge, Rais opened a communication channel to the approaching harvester ships. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth battleship Thunderchild. You have attacked peaceful Confederation vessels and personnel. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response came swiftly. A bright energy beam shot from the lead harvester ship directly at the Thunderchild. The battleship shuddered slightly as the beam struck its shields. Bridge displays flickered but remained online. "Shields holding at 94%, reported the defense officer. "Minor power fluctuations on decks 3 and 4, compensating." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "They've made their choice. Release fighters. Target their weapon systems only." The sides of the massive battleship opened, and fighters poured out like angry hornets from a nest. The harvester ships, focused on the Thunderchild, didn't notice the smaller craft until they were already attacking from multiple vectors. From the bridge, Thalos watched the battle with wide eyes. The human fighters moved with incredible speed and precision, darting between enemy fire while landing precise hits on critical systems. "Your pilots are remarkable," he said in wonder. "Confederation pilots could never maneuver like that." "Humans evolved as pursuit predators," explained Commander Patel beside him. "Our brains are wired for tracking moving targets and predicting trajectories. It makes us natural pilots. The lead harvester ship's weapons went dark as human fighters disabled them with surgical precision. The Thunderchild itself fired a precise shot that disabled the engines of another harvester vessel. You could destroy them all, Thelas realized aloud. We could, Rise agreed, but that's not our goal. We want them to retreat and report back that this sector is protected. On the tactical display, the remaining harvester ships began to pull back, clearly surprised by the unexpected resistance. The disabled ships drifted helplessly, unable to fight or flee. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Harvester Command vessel," reported Lieutenant Chen. A harsh, distorted voice filled the bridge. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself. How dare you interfere in Harvester operations?" Ray stood tall. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of Earth. You attacked peaceful beings without provocation. We will not allow that in any sector near human space." "Earth." The Harvester commander sounded genuinely confused. "We have no record of your species having military capability of this level." "Then your records are dangerously incomplete," Rise replied simply. "Take this message back to your leaders. The Confederation has friends now. Powerful friends. Attack them again, and you'll face the full might of humanity." As the remaining harvester ships retreated, Phyllis turned to Rise with a mixture of gratitude and amazement. "My people have always seen humans as a minor species, barely worth diplomatic consideration. We were so wrong." Rise shook her head. "We're not looking for recognition or gratitude, Ambassador, but we will always defend those who cannot defend themselves. That's what humans do." An alert sounded on the communications console. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships entering the system. Confederation signatures." "They're too late," Phyllis said softly. 5 Confederation ships entered the system, their elegant designs contrasting sharply with the angular human battleship. They slowed as they detected the aftermath of battle. Disabled harvester ships, debris, and the massive Thunderchild waiting silently. "They're hailing us, Captain," reported Lieutenant Chen. "On screen," Rise ordered. A tall, elegant alien appeared on the main display. His delicate features and ceremonial uniform marked him as a high-ranking official rather than a military commander. "This is High Counselor Valor of the Confederation Security Council," he said formally. "We received a distress signal from this sector." His eyes widened as he noticed Thelas standing on the bridge. "Ambassador Thelas, you survived." "Thanks to the humans, Counselor," Thelas replied. "The Earth battleship Thunderchild answered our distress call when no one else could. They rescued me and drove off the Harvester attack force." Valor looked confused. "Humans," but he studied the bridge crew with growing astonishment. "Our records indicate your species had only recently achieved interstellar travel. We believe your military capability to be minimal." "Your records need updating, Counselor," Rise said simply. She gestured to the tactical display showing the disabled harvester ships. "The harvesters were building a forward base on the moon. They destroyed your diplomatic outpost without warning, and were preparing for further attacks." Valor's expression darkened. "We have received reports of similar harvester activities in other sectors. They seem intent on conquest." He hesitated before continuing. "Captain Rise, the Confederation Council requests an immediate conference with you. This is unprecedented." Within the hour, the main view screen showed 12 aliens representing the highest levels of Confederation leadership. They wore elaborate ceremonial attire adorned with symbols of their authority. They stared in obvious shock at the human bridge crew. "Captain Reyes," began the central figure, an ancient alien with luminescent tendrils flowing from his head. "I am Grand Arbiter Xen of the Confederation. We are humbled by your intervention in this matter." Reyes stood straight, her uniform crisp despite the recent battle. "The Thunderchild answered a distress call, Arbiter. That's standard procedure for any Earth vessel. But this was far outside your recognized territory," said another counselor, "and you committed a military vessel to assist beings not of your world, risking your ship and crew. Distance doesn't matter when lives are at stake," Rise replied firmly. And all sentient beings deserve protection from unprovoked violence. The counselors exchanged glances, clearly recognizing that humans operated by different principles than they had expected. We have been monitoring the conflict, Sen admitted. Your ship and fighters displayed capabilities we didn't realize humans possessed. You disabled the harvester vessels without destroying them, showing restraint even in victory. We used proportional force, Rise explained. Our goal was to end the immediate threat and send a message, not to annihilate an enemy. Grand Arbiter Xen leaned forward. Captain Rise, the Confederation has maintained peace for centuries through diplomacy and cooperation. We have avoided building significant military forces, believing that peace comes from understanding, not strength. He paused. Recent events suggest our approach may have been naive. Ambassador Thelis stepped forward. The harvesters aren't interested in diplomacy, Arbiter. They see our peaceful nature as weakness, our cooperation as vulnerability. Indeed, Sen acknowledged gravely. Which brings me to an unprecedented proposal. The Confederation formally requests a defense alliance with Earth. We offer our knowledge, resources, and diplomatic channels in exchange for your protection. Silence fell across the bridge as the magnitude of this request became clear. For centuries, the Confederation had kept humanity at arm's length, viewing them as too unpredictable, too prone to conflict to be fully embraced. I'll convey your request to Earth Command, Rise replied carefully. But I believe Earth would welcome such an alliance. We've always sought cooperation rather than isolation. There is much we could learn from each other, Thelis added. The Confederation's scientific and cultural achievements combined with Earth's innovation and determination would create something greater than either could achieve alone. As the communication ended, Rise turned to her crew. Well, it seems we've just changed the balance of power in this region of space. Thelis approached her with a respectful bow. Captain Rise, you've done more than that. You've changed how the Confederation sees humanity, and perhaps how we see ourselves. In the days that followed, as diplomatic channels buzzed with the details of the new alliance, the Thunderchild remained on patrol in the Radiant Cluster. Earth sent additional ships to secure the region, while Confederation worlds mobilized their resources to support the unexpected partnership. The harvesters retreated to the edges of known space, but intelligence reports suggested they were regrouping, reassessing their strategy in light of this new player on the galactic stage. Aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Rice stood at the viewport watching as human engineers worked alongside Confederation scientists to establish a joint defense outpost where the diplomatic station had once stood. It was a small beginning, but a significant one. Commander Jackson joined her, offering a data tablet. Latest reports from Earth Command, Captain. They're calling your decision to answer that distress call the most consequential first contact in human history. Ray smiled slightly. We just did what any human would do, Commander. We helped someone who needed it. She looked back at the stars, at the vast expanse that held both wonders and dangers yet to be discovered. And that's what we'll continue to do.